This is Goku's son DBZ. And of course, intro music again. And this is going to be a book review this episode. My newest one since reviewing the Chronicles of Narnia in 3-part. This will be a review for the Star Wars novel Darth Plagues. Anyways, yes, this will be a review for Star Wars Darth Plagues, which is part of course, the Star Wars Expanded Universe, or now non-canon. But it doesn't matter if it is not canon anymore. Still a fascinating story, and I think for any good science fiction fan as well as Star Wars fan would really appreciate this book. Now, also, please give me your thumbs up this video, like, subscribe, follow me at twitter.com/GokuSinDBZ, as well as on Google Plus and now on Tumblr. With that said, okay, first, I'd like to say, I love the cover of this. We have here Palpatine, or of course Darth Sidious, kneeling before Darth Plagues. Now, of course there will be spoilers, but since it's not technically canon anymore, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so basically, in the novel, starts off on another planet, underground and stuff. We have these two Sith Lords training, of course, the Master and Apprentice. At this time, Plagueis is still the apprentice. Now, he ends up devising a whole plan to have rubble and stuff fall and kill his master. Now, surprisingly, in the expanded universe, non-canon now, but there's really no details on his master. His master's name was called Darth Plagues. There's really no real info on Darth Plagues, other than what little bit we hear Plagueis talk about. Now, after he successfully kills, of course, he makes it to another planet and gets on a ship, stowaway. Also ends up finding a very useful droid, which will help him through time to come. And he assumes the role of his people as his other self. He's known throughout the rest of the galaxy, not known as Darth Plagues. His name is Hugo Damask. He is the head of the Mune super powerful group of the Munes, which of course in general the Munes are basically known as the banking clan. They are super powerful and wealthy individuals. They basically loan, who knows, in the trillions or higher amount of galactic credits to, of course, the Republic. And to, obviously, Coruscant, which you learn in Star Wars Clone Wars series. You learn a little bit about the Munes, and a Mune actually makes an appearance in also Attack of the Clones as well. And by Hugo Damask is the head of a particular Mune banking clan organization, super powerful, called Damask Holdings. They have a huge amount of influence and power throughout the entire galaxy. This was a lot of pull in the Republic. Now, and he uses this, at first tries to help get a new ruler in charge that he feels someone he might be able to control over Tatooine. And one of the things to use to gain control of Tatooine is to use an idea that was used on many other planets in the past, such as, trying to remember, I believe one mention is Kashyyyk. It's been a little while since I've read the novel exact detail, but and mentions a couple of other Outer Rim planets that are known better for pod racing, but this is an idea by a current high-ranking member of the Hutt family, which Hugo Damask Plagueis puts in power. Her name is Gardulla the Hutt. Yes, as I said, a Hutt. Gardulla. Gardulla the Hutt is the aunt of Jabba the Hutt, or just Jabba the Hutt. But Gardulla is very evil and powerful. She's somewhat more dangerous than Jabba in some ways, because she's much more an emotional Hutt. but very powerful nevertheless. But he ends up allowing her to take over Tatooine. And of course she brings in pod racing and stuff to help build up the economy and stuff in Tatooine. Which is smart, because you need to have a certain area to gain economic power, especially in the Outer Rim territories. Now with that said, and of course, later on in his political travels, Darth Plagueis, or rather Hugo Damask, makes a travel to a small planet called Naboo. There he would meet this young, upstanding upstart in the local political spectrum, in the young, youth political program and stuff, to get into politics from a special, pretty decent, wealthy family. Not huge power, but still a pretty powerful, wealthy family. And of course, that individual he approaches is from the House of Palpatine. And this is, of course, the one we simply know as Palpatine today. He is a young upstart, and he has a deep-seated rage and anger in him. And definitely, Darth Plagueis realizes this early on and uses it to his own advantage to manipulate and control Palpatine. And so he does so. In the end, on a trip, he decides to take away his son, the head of the Palpatine family, Palpatine's father, and decides to take him away to another planet. He finds out, and he goes into a blindless rage and snaps with the Force and anger. And he ends up snapping. He ends up killing everyone on the ship, the guards. He kills his own family members. He kills his mother, and he kills his father. Luckily, no one else finds out, because Hugo Damask, or Palpatine, or Plagueis, makes sure of it. But it helps also the money and power he will take definitely to his own advantage. And he will end up rising into politics. And eventually, he will become, of course, a senator of Naboo. Senator Palpatine, which we know actually from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, for you prequel haters out there. But this book really makes the events in the prequels make so much more logical sense. You have no clue how much sense this book makes things make. Because also, as he rises up to power, through lots of training and stuff, and later on, we will see that also Gardulla will fall out of favor of Darth Plagueis. And Palpatine, and also Darth Plagueis, rather, ends up gaining an alliance with a younger, upstanding business hut on Coruscant. And what is his name? Jabba the Hutt. And so he ends up backing Jabba and overthrows Gardulla to put in place Jabba over Tatooine. So that explains how Jabba ends up in charge of Tatooine in the first place. Also, with that said, Darth Plagueis talks with his apprentice, Darth Sidious Palpatine. And he teaches him about the rule of two, master and an apprentice. And that this is a teaching that has been around for 1,000 years in the Sith, until a super powerful Sith would rise up to gain control. And Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious are the last of a bloodline of Sith. The last of what would be known as the line of Darth Bane. That's right, Darth Bane, which is now officially canon thanks to the final season of Star Wars Clone Wars. At least he's canon, though other than his Force spirit, nothing's been mentioned on Bane. But in this, Bane was the one who, of course, established the rule of two, master and an apprentice. Always. That way there would be one who has great power, and then the other would starve and thirst for power in order to overthrow and eventually become more powerful and kill the Master. That was a whole point Bane put in place, the rule of two. That way, every generation, the Sith would gain more and more powerful and be more and more deadly. And this is very smart of Bane. But a lot of what Bane teaches would go on to, of course, people like Darth Darth Plagues, Darth Bane, Darth Sidious. And of course, we also in this book learn about the origins of Darth Maul as well, which is fascinating. And it is a really interesting story. We also learn a little bit more about the future head of the Republic. The future, of course, Supreme Chancellor of Alorum, which we would learn that he would be manipulated and controlled behind the scenes by Darth Sidious Palpatine. What a surprise! And also, we learn later on in the series of the story that it comes to the attention, and Darth Plagueis ends up deciding to stay on his home planet and stuff because he becomes obsessed over learning how to control and manipulate midichlorians. Yes, I know some people out there hate the whole thing about midichlorians. Guess what? I actually like midichlorians. Whole thing, it tries to bring a more scientific aspect to things. The haters of prequels and midichlorians, too bad. I like it. But that's me. Everyone has their own opinion on this universe. But it is fascinating overall, and he wants to learn how to use Sith sorcery to a greater understanding, but he also sees anger and potential in others. Plagueis actually sets down towards the future events of the prequels and stuff. He helps lead Count Dooku down towards the route of the dark side. That's right, Darth Plagueis influenced Count Dooku, Master Dooku. And then we, of course, also see he also influences, he ends up learning about these cloners on Kamino. And they learn that it's a lot easier to clone humans. So, he ends up learning about that. And he mentions this to another Jedi Master that is worried about the Republic and thinks that it might be a good idea to have an army for the Republic. And who is it he manipulates? Jedi Master Sifo Dyas. We learn a little bit about Master Sifo Dyas in this book. Just as we learn a tad bit more about Count Dooku. There is so much fascinating facts in the Darth Plagueis book. It's insane how good this book really is. And seriously, if you have not read this, get out, buy a copy. If you don't want to spend money, go here on YouTube and check out the audiobook by this, because seriously, the audio work is amazing. It's the best Star Wars audiobook, and hands down, it is my #1 favorite Star Wars novel of all time. Seriously, it's one of my favorite novels of all time. And the story is just so fascinating. I just love it. But he also learns about a slave woman who ends up becoming pregnant, who works for Gardula the Hutt. But she ends up losing this pregnant woman to a junk dealer. And she never been with a man, so it was a virgin's, which is something that we learned that Plagueis could also create. And he realized the dangers of such a thing, a virgin's in the Force. That he realized, and he went to the planet and stuff and tried to catch this boy when he finds out was brought with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. It also mentions about Sith, of course, from Darth Maul attacking on Tatooine. And it's quite fascinating, the events, the way things play out. So we find out that Darth Plagueis was alive during the events of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. In fact, he is alive to the night before that Palpatine becomes Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Senate and the Republic. And it's thanks to the money backing of the Munes, in particular, the backing of course, a certain Mune individual, of course, that being Hugo Damask of Damask Holdings, aka Darth Plagues. But he's relying on a mechanical breathing thing now. We learn from an attack on his home, which is believed to have been connected with Gardula. But in the end, he ends up getting drunk and stuff, thanks to Darth Sidious. Sorry, getting names messed up. And in the end, he gets him pretty well drunk, heavy breathing, having a hard time breathing and stuff. And Palpatine figures, no time like the present, to kill your master. And he takes full advantage of that. And uses his full lightning abilities. And ends up killing Hugo Damask. Or, as we believe, though, there is a chance he could have survived, since he was able to bring people back from the point of death. He learned how to cheat death. In the movie, he says that he killed his master in his sleep. It was more like he got his master drunk, who was having heavy breathing problem stuff with the mechanical stuff he was relying on for breathing, sort of like Vader and stuff. And at the end of the movie, after he's dead, and after the end of the death, supposedly, of Darth Maul, and the death of course, Qui-Gon Jinn, a few days later, on Coruscant, we see Obi-Wan Kenobi with his new young pupil, Anakin Skywalker. And he mentions about the slavery and stuff on the home planet, and sees the deep rage and anger in the eyes and tone of voice of Anakin Skywalker. And Palpatine realizes at that moment, Anakin Skywalker is just like he was when he was young and became manipulated, controlled by Hugo Damask or Plagueis. And he realized, you will be mine someday. You will be mine. It's basically what Palpatine, future Emperor, thought. He realized, you're just like me. You have the same deep-seated anger, desire, and rage. The perfect instrument to become a very powerful ally of the dark side of the Force. And indeed, in the end, we see in Revenge of the Sith, he was quite right in the end. But nevertheless, we do see in the end, Palpatine would go down as one of the greatest, or rather Darth Sidious would go down as one of the greatest Sith that ever lived. But Darth Plagueis truly was one of the most knowledgeable Sith Lords that ever lived. He was a true master manipulator, but Plagueis, as good manipulating as he was, I think even Sidious was one step better at manipulating than Plagueis. But Plagueis was a political genius when it came to maneuvering things around without people realizing his hands were attached, like the creation of the clone army, the leading down to the dark side of the Force of Count Dooku, Darth Maul. All of these events were all set in motion by the great master, Darth Plagueis the Wise. And this is a novel book review of Star Wars Darth Plagueis. Leave me a comment, tell me who your favorite Sith Lord is, what your favorite novel is of Star Wars. And if, of course, as I say, if you haven't read it or checked it out, seriously check it out. At the very least, check out the audiobook here on YouTube for free. There's not a big deal there. And remember, I'll see you again soon enough, same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. And here's the announcement for the next 2 comic book reviews coming your way. Next up, I only have issue 4, so my apologies. Street Fighter Legends, Chun-Li. And after that, Spawn issue 263, when he first returns to Earth alive. But those are 2 future comic book reviews. And this was a novel review. So remember, I'll see you next time here in YouTube land. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. And oh yeah, wearing a new shirt for The Cure. Their album, Disintegration. Incredible album. Incredible band. And I hope you like the music.